Going into this movie, I was really excited and really hoping that we would be getting a genuinely great sequel to the original Happy Death Day. Now, the original Happy Death Day does share a lot of similarities to Groundhog Day, but still manages to be different enough from it. Happy Death Day 2 starts off great with an intriguing plot, and I'd say for the first 30 minutes of the film, it is a great time. It starts with Carter's roommate from the first film, Ryan, waking up in a loop of his own. After the first time he dies, he decides to get help from Tree and Carter, and from there they find out that he has made this device that starts time loops, and then they capture Ryan's killer, who turns out to be another version of Ryan. So the original Ryan decides turning on his machine is the only way to stop his evil twin. That part there didn't make a lot of sense to me. He does, and doing so puts Tree back into her time loop. She wakes up back in her original time loop, but then finds out there are some differences than there were in her original time loop. She's basically in her time loop, but in a different universe now. But that's not really explained why. So in this universe, her mother is alive and her and Carter aren't together. This is where the film becomes a pretty predictable, boring mess. Tree has to decide between her mother or her boyfriend, and it's very obvious what she has to do and what she's going to do. So she finds Ryan and has him find a way to fix the time loop and close it. To do this, they have to rule out all these different equations that would work for the machine to fix and close the time loop. So, to do this, she has to remember each equation that doesn't work and then die until they find the right equation. And from here, you sit through a really boring montage of Tree killing herself in different ways. Some of these ways, I'll tell you, no one would ever choose to kill themselves. One of them, she decides to jump into a tree shredder, hands first. So even though she'll wake up, you're gonna feel your hands get chopped off. So after they find the right equation, Tree finally decides to go back to her original timeline. But before she does that, she decides to help and save her roommate from the killer, who turns out to be the professor she slept with in the first film, but in this timeline, it's her roommate who sleeps with him. She saves everybody and goes back to her timeline, and the loop closes and she gets to be with Carter. The film ends. Then, since Blumhouse decided it wants to try to make this into a franchise, they added an end credit scene. This end credit scene shows some government agency showing up to the university and taking Tree, Carter, and Ryan to help them to try to learn how to use Ryan's machine to find ways to torture people. Tree then thinks that a good recruiter for this torture experiment would be her housemate Danielle, whose worst thing we ever saw her do was cheat on Carter in the other universe, where they were together. It is just a weird end credit scene that did not match the rest of the movie or even the Happy Death Day franchise to begin with. But the biggest problem with this film I found was when I was walking out of the theater, I realized that they never solved the original plot of the movie. This film opened with Ryan in his own loop being killed by himself wearing the baby mask. They never closed Ryan's loop that we started the movie with, never explained why Ryan was in the loop, and never explained why there were two Ryans in the same universe at once. This never happened to Tree. So I guess that Tree gets back to her universe and they just forget about Ryan's problem and everything was fine. The film literally started with the second plot half an hour into the film and hoped the audience would just forget about the original plot, which I think would have been a much better movie. I think a lot of this movie's problems are due to the switch in writers. The original Happy Death Day was written by Scott, and I hope I don't remember his last name, Lobdell, who's mostly known for writing comics, and was directed by Christopher Landon. This film was written both and directed by Christopher Landon. All in all, I would say if you enjoyed the first film, you'll enjoy this one, but you'll be disappointed. I give this film a 6 out of 10. You don't need to see it, but if you've got nothing better to do, it's a good way to get rid of 2 hours. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed the review. If I missed anything, let me know below, and I'll catch you guys on the next time. Peace.